69,000 Bitcoin, $3.6 billion at the time, and roughly $6 billion in today's market. Gone. And so were the two brothers behind it. Raees and Ameer Cajee, aged 22 and 25, promised investors 10% daily returns through Africrypt until they blamed a hack and vanished. But what investigators uncovered next was even more shocking. If reports are to be believed, their escape plan was as bold as the heist itself. Picture this: Lamborghinis paid for in cash, luxury penthouses registered under shell companies, and private jets hopping between countries with no extradition treaties. Every purchase, every transaction could have been a step toward vanishing forever. But here's the twist. Their spending wasn't just about luxury. It was a smokescreen. Offshore accounts to launder Bitcoin, a Pacific Island passport to bypass borders, and properties bought only to sell in secret. Yet, even with billions, one question remains. Can you truly disappear without leaving a trail? Or did their greed plant clues that will eventually destroy them? The Cajee brothers went from living ordinary lives in South Africa to moving like international billionaires almost overnight. Within months of launching Africrypt, they had the amount of money that could afford driving luxury sports cars, buy high-end properties, and jetting between countries. With that much power, they could have purchased cars like a Lamborghini Huracan, valued at approximately $200,000, and a Ferrari 488 GTB, worth around $250,000. Just before disappearing, they most likely sold a Ferrari in a hurry, likely converting it back to cash. But behind this facade of opulence lay a strategic plan to dismantle any trace of wrongdoing. By now, they could have acquired multiple properties around the globe and traveled extensively, crossing borders with ease. To further cover their tracks, they set up offshore accounts to move money undetected. One of their most calculated moves was obtaining Vanuatu citizenship. The small Pacific Island nation offers passports through investment of at least $130,000, allowing visa-free travel to over 130 countries. This gave them the perfect escape route. Once they had the passports, they could vanish without leaving an obvious trail. They also funneled money through offshore entities, making it harder for authorities to track the stolen Bitcoin. Employees at Africrypt later reported that the brothers had become increasingly secretive in the months before their disappearance. They stopped showing up at the office regularly, and when they did, they were always in a rush. Some noticed their new luxury watches and designer clothes, but no one questioned it too deeply. After all, if the platform was making so much money, why wouldn't the founders enjoy the rewards? The truth was, none of their wealth came from legitimate trading. The 10% daily returns Africrypt promised were mathematically impossible. The brothers weren't financial geniuses. They were running a classic Ponzi scheme. When the scheme began to collapse, they staged a fake hack, emptied the wallets, and disappeared, leaving behind a trail of deception that would soon unravel. The Africrypt platform promised investors 10% daily returns, an impossible claim. For context, even the most successful hedge funds average about 20% per year. The math didn't add up, but the allure of quick riches drew people in anyway. Red flags abounded right from the start, as their website touted Raees Cajee as a prodigy who founded the business in 2013, when he was just 13 years old. In reality, neither Raees nor his brother Ameer had any proven track record in trading. The operation lacked basic safeguards: no third-party audits, no external custodians for funds, and no financial licensing. Investors had no way to verify where their money was going and had to rely solely on the brothers' word. Early investors received payouts, but these weren't from trading profits. Instead, the brothers used new deposits to pay existing clients, a classic Ponzi scheme. They pooled all investor funds into shared wallets, giving themselves complete control to move money freely, including into their personal accounts. The promotional materials were equally dubious, featuring generic animations, stock footage, and a robotic voice making vague claims about AI trading. There was no evidence of real trading activity, just buzzwords masking an empty operation. To bolster credibility, the brothers targeted wealthy South Africans, including celebrities, and announced ambitious plans like launching Africoin and creating Africa's first crypto bank. These grandiose promises, though baseless, created urgency and drew in more victims. Behind the scenes, the entire operation was a house of cards. Monthly statements showed steady growth, even during market crashes, but employees later revealed the trading dashboard was purely for show. The lack of oversight made it easy for the brothers to operate unchecked. Unlike regulated financial products, Africrypt wasn't subject to external reviews. They stored all funds in hot wallets under their control, bypassing escrow services or cold storage. This gave them instant access to the Bitcoin whenever they decided to pull the plug. By early 2021, the scheme was collapsing. Instead of letting it unravel, the brothers staged a fake hack, claiming their systems had been breached. They urged investors not to contact authorities, buying time to disappear with the money. Blockchain analysis later revealed they had started moving funds days before the supposed hack, setting the stage for one of the most elaborate crypto heists in history. The email hit investors' inboxes in April 2021 with disastrous news. Africrypt COO Ameer Cajee claimed hackers had breached their systems, stealing all client funds. The message contained a suspicious demand. Investors were told not to involve authorities, as this would delay the recovery process. For investors, the shock was immediate. Years of savings vanished in an instant, replaced by confusion and betrayal. Employees later revealed they'd lost access to back-end systems a full week before the supposed hack. Their actions in the days leading to the hack were as calculated as the email that stunned investors. At Africrypt's Durban office, computers sat abandoned. Cleaning crews found empty desks where the Cajee brothers and their team once worked. The company website vanished overnight, replaced by error messages. Phone lines went dead. Blockchain analysis later exposed the truth. Massive Bitcoin withdrawals began days before the hack announcement. The brothers weren't victims of cyber criminals. They orchestrated the theft themselves. The movement of funds followed a deliberate pattern. Initial transfers were small, test runs to avoid detection. Then the amounts grew. Hundreds, then thousands of Bitcoin moving at a time. Rather than sending funds directly to exchanges, they routed them through mixers, services that scrambled the transaction trail by pooling thousands of users' coins together. Each pass through a mixer made the stolen Bitcoin harder to track, like dropping a single grain of sand onto a beach. 69,000 Bitcoin, but by then the money was already in motion. Some went to private wallets, some converted to privacy-focused Monero, some split into countless fragments across different blockchains. The Cajee brothers didn't just take the money. They ensured its disappearance, leaving no single transaction to reveal the full picture. Shortly after sending the hack notice, Raees and Ameer left South Africa using their Vanuatu passports. These documents, obtained through citizenship by investment, gave them visa-free access to over 130 countries. They left behind a Lamborghini they couldn't sell in time, but took everything else: funds, plans, and any evidence that might prove their guilt. But how exactly did they manage to hide billions of dollars in Bitcoin without leaving a trace? Cryptocurrency mixers were their first tool, services that pool funds from thousands of users and redistribute them randomly, breaking the blockchain's paper trail. This process makes it nearly impossible to trace stolen funds back to their origin. Private investigator Sean Pierce described the funds as passing through various dark web tumblers and mixers, creating what he called severe fragmentation of the money trail. But the brothers didn't stop there. They converted large portions of Bitcoin into Monero, a cryptocurrency designed for complete anonymity. Unlike Bitcoin, where transactions are publicly visible, Monero obscures the sender, receiver, and amount, making it a favorite for illicit activities. They also swapped stolen coins for stablecoins, crypto pegged to the US dollar, which are easier to cash out discreetly. This multi-layered process added complexity, ensuring the stolen funds were deeply buried within the system. Offshore exchanges were another critical piece of the puzzle. The brothers targeted platforms in jurisdictions with weak Know Your Customer (KYC) rules, where large sums can be traded without identity verification. These exchanges acted as laundromats, turning dirty Bitcoin into clean coins that couldn't be traced back to Africrypt. Some funds likely intersected with criminal networks, further complicating the trail. When money flows through such channels, tracing it becomes exponentially harder. A hardware wallet found in a Swiss bank vault added another twist. This physical device, potentially holding millions in stolen assets, was useless without the private key, a deliberate failsafe by the brothers to keep the funds out of reach. The timing of their moves underscores their meticulous planning. Employees lost access to Africrypt's back-end systems just before the fake hack announcement. Pierce noted this was no coincidence. It was undertaken to mask the transfer and make it untraceable. Small test transactions preceded massive transfers, ensuring the operation went unnoticed. Hiding $3.6 billion required more than digital tricks. It demanded physical world maneuvering. Using Vanuatu passports, the brothers accessed crypto-friendly jurisdictions. Some funds reportedly moved through Middle Eastern exchanges, while others may have been converted into luxury assets like diamonds or art. But even with their meticulous planning, how did they manage to stay ahead of authorities and avoid leaving a trail? The legal black hole. When the Africrypt scandal broke, South African authorities found themselves powerless to act. Cryptocurrencies weren't legally classified as financial products, creating a regulatory blind spot that shielded the Cajee brothers' billion-dollar Bitcoin theft. The Financial Sector Conduct Authority, FSCA, confirmed this in their official statement. Currently, crypto assets are not regulated in terms of any financial sector law in South Africa, and consequently, the FSCA is not in a position to take any regulatory action. This legal gap left authorities unable to freeze assets, demand records, or even formally investigate. The Financial Intelligence Center, FIC, faced similar limitations. Normally tasked with tracking suspicious money flows, they were rendered ineffective because crypto transactions fell outside financial regulations. Africrypt operated without anti-money laundering checks or transaction monitoring, and the brothers didn't need sophisticated evasion tactics. South Africa's laws simply didn't apply. This regulatory vacuum allowed billions to vanish without triggering standard financial crime alerts, leaving victims with little recourse. The brothers' escape plan was equally calculated. By obtaining Vanuatu citizenship, they secured passports granting visa-free access to 130 countries and protection from extradition. This move placed them beyond the reach of South African authorities, who scrambled to build a case while the brothers freely crossed borders, settling wherever local laws worked in their favor. Swiss authorities uncovered a hardware wallet in Zurich containing potential evidence, but without the private key, it remains inaccessible. Even when investigators found pieces of the puzzle, the brothers' fragmented money laundering, spread across mixers, offshore exchanges, and anonymous cryptocurrencies, ensured the trail went cold. Investors faced a cruel dilemma: accept 65 cents per dollar lost or pursue justice through broken systems. An anonymous third party proposed the settlement, shielding the brothers from further action. For many victims, partial repayment seemed better than nothing, exactly the outcome the Cajees likely intended. The offer exploited desperation, using financial pressure to stifle legal challenges. South Africa's lack of crypto regulations wasn't just a loophole, it was a catastrophe. The Cajees exploited this gray area, timing their scheme perfectly. By the time South Africa began drafting crypto laws in 2022, the brothers were long gone. But was Africrypt their first scam? Or had they perfected their methods through earlier schemes? 2 years before Africrypt collapsed, the Cajee brothers ran a strikingly similar scheme. In May 2019, their earlier venture, Raees Wealth Limited, claimed to have lost all its Bitcoin in a mysterious hack with no evidence. The pattern was clear: launch a crypto platform, attract investors, and then disappear with the funds while blaming hackers. The 2019 operation followed the same playbook as Africrypt. When Bitcoin vanished from Raees Wealth, investors received a letter claiming Binance Exchange had been hacked. It alleged their Hong Kong servers were compromised through Binance's API, with cyber forensics teams investigating. This story was nearly identical to the one they would use for Africrypt 2 years later. One former client reflected, "I think they waited for a real hack to happen and used it as an excuse to tell us our crypto had disappeared." The brothers targeted family and friends first, leveraging personal connections to build trust. This made victims less likely to suspect fraud. One investor who knew them personally admitted, "I never thought they'd steal a few $100,000." This personal approach deepened the betrayal and made the scheme harder to expose. Raees sent monthly statements showing consistent growth, even during market crashes. These reports were entirely fabricated. No trading strategy could deliver steady profits while crypto markets plummeted. This was classic Ponzi behavior. Fake returns kept current investors calm and attracted new ones to sustain the scam. The 2019 letter also previewed Africrypt's tactics, claiming withdrawals would be frozen during a migration to Huobi Exchange. The language mirrored Africrypt's later warnings about delays if authorities got involved, discouraging legal action while promising solutions that never came. Unlike Africrypt, the 2019 scam operated on a smaller scale, likely as a trial run. The brothers tested their methods, fake hacks, fabricated statements, and stalling tactics, before scaling up to a billion-dollar operation. By the time Africrypt launched, they had refined their approach, learning how to better obscure money trails and manipulate victims. Unlike Africrypt, the 2019 scam operated on a smaller scale, likely as a trial run. The brothers tested their methods, fake hacks, fabricated statements, and stalling tactics, before scaling up to a billion-dollar operation. By the time Africrypt launched, they had refined their approach, learning how to better obscure money trails and manipulate victims. But as their schemes grew larger, so did the risks. Could they really keep their secrets hidden forever? The Cajee brothers vanished in April 2021 with their entire family, leaving behind only scattered clues. Their last confirmed locations were the UK and Dubai, but after that, they went completely silent. Investigators traced their movements through luxury purchases funded by stolen Bitcoin, including a Lamborghini Huracan, but the trail eventually went cold. Their disappearance wasn't a panicked escape. It was calculated. They disconnected all known phone numbers, abandoned social media accounts, and severed every digital tie that could expose them. By the time Africrypt's collapse became public, the brothers and their family were already gone. For the victims, the fallout was devastating. One investor, who had poured his life savings into Africrypt, described the betrayal as losing everything I'd worked for in a single moment. Raees Cajee, in a rare interview, claimed they were in hiding due to death threats, though no evidence supports this. He also disputed the theft amount, insisting only $5 million was missing, a stark contrast to the billion-dollar investigators estimate. His statements seemed designed to confuse rather than clarify. The Zurich wallet remains the most promising lead, but without the brothers or the key, it's a locked door to the truth. Investigators are left wondering, was this a breadcrumb deliberately left behind, or part of a larger, more sinister plan? And with speculation about their whereabouts ranging from Tanzania to Dubai, the question remains, will the Cajee brothers ever be found? South Africa's regulatory vacuum let the Cajee brothers run a shadow exchange with zero oversight, mirroring the 2020 mirror trading scam that also vaporized savings with fake returns. Both preyed on trust, not tech. Investors had no safety nets. Unlike insured banks, Africrypt funneled cash directly into the brothers' pockets. Many lost life savings to their AI trading bots myth. One victim called it a betrayal by people we pretended were geniuses. South Africa's regulators admitted they couldn't act. Crypto wasn't classified as a financial product. No audits, no safeguards. The Cajees didn't need to hide. The system let them operate in plain sight. Only after the collapse did lawmakers debate bans or stricter rules, too late for victims. Globally, the brothers weaponized weak links, offshore accounts, Vanuatu passports for travel hubs like Dubai, and crypto mixers to launder Bitcoin into untraceable assets. Their playbook? Move fast, exploit gaps, vanish? Africrypt's legacy? A warning. Without global coordination, crypto's Wild West will keep recycling scams, and billions will keep disappearing into the void. The SEC warns that promises like Africrypt's 10% daily returns are a mirage, enticing but destined to vanish. Yet investors still lost everything. This tragedy demands action. Should stricter rules protect us, or is this crypto's dangerous trade-off? Share your thoughts or experiences below. For more deep dives into the fascinating lives of the rich, famous, and infamous, click on the next video here. Behind every fortune is a story worth telling, or worth exposing. See you on the other one.